Men of value don't meet girls at bars. They don't.
That's going to be I want to just have that as a clip right there. That is so important because it's true.
They have an idea of what they want to take home from the bar. And quite frankly, that's not what I'm looking for. It's not going to be me. And my dad has this fantastic saying, and I think he wants me to have somebody more than I do sometimes.
Sure.
But my dad, he says, go out and do the things that you enjoy doing. And you're going to find like-minded individuals. And that's where you're going to find your match. So I think for the past 2 relationships I've had, I've met them in the gym.
Yeah.
I met them in the gym or something around the gym surrounding the fitness lifestyle. So I know they're going to understand that I have goals and there's things that I'm working on, and I want them to have goals too. I don't like guys without goals.
What's your background in education? Because this is where I really, really was interested when we met at that charity event. Give me your educational background. Give me what you're doing right now, because you're going for your PhD or master's.
Right now I'm working towards my online master's, but I went back to UCF. Originally, my game plan was anesthesiology.
Okay.
I am very blunt to the point. I have terrible bedside manner, so I need an occupation where the patient's asleep. I'm very funny, and I'm going to tell you straight up how everything is. So immediately I'm like, anesthesiology, it works out great. I'm still helping people. I'm still doing something that I enjoy. I'm working in healthcare. I'm bettering other people's lives. But then the further down the road I got, I realized this isn't my passion. This isn't what's really driving me. And as a head trauma survivor myself, I've connected with veterans and former athletes over the course of my life who are TBI, CTE survivors.
Okay.
And that's what really piqued my interest about neuroscience, which is what I'm currently going back to school for. Who knows where it's going to lead? Right now, I'm working for McCormick Research Institute.
Okay.
And we're working with veterans that are struggling with PTSD, TBI, CTE. And what we're trying to do is get them off the prescription medicines that the VA is over-medicating in certain cases, and trying to give them a more holistic, all-natural approach. And it's really, really getting the best benefits I've seen so far.
So if you can unpack that a little bit, what's the approach you're taking? That's obviously in opposition to, big pharma. Yes. We can say it, and canceled, and the podcast is done.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, it's, so where are you approaching it, and where is this organization approaching it that's different from big pharma, different from the VA, which I have a lot of problems with both. One of my main goals under my hormone side of the clinics is to petition the VA to start to cover some of this stuff because, as you know, neuroscientist, hormones are a really big part of how your brain works.
It plays into everything, essentially, right down to how your body functions. So what we're working on is getting veterans out of that white-walled group therapy setting that's just so clinical and unapproachable in most cases. It's very deterring. I mean, personally, it's something that I would want myself to go through. And you're expecting these people that were very active and live those very active lifestyles to go from that high-stress environment, in which case with law enforcement, fire department, veterans, you're coming from this high-stress environment and you're expected to be sedentary. And that's just not the case. You can't go from 100 to 0 as much as you can go from 0 to 100. So we're bringing them in, we're getting them out of that white-walled experience. And Eric, who is in charge of the program currently, he's doing a phenomenal job. He's a veteran that is also a head trauma survivor.
Okay.
He was combat deployed, and he's getting in there right with the veterans and understanding what they're going through in these certain points of time. And it can get very emotional.
Okay.
So what we want to do is we want to take them away from the prescription medicines that the VA will just give you hand over fist. And in some cases, you don't even have to go in for an appointment, which I find a personal issue with.
So for things like antidepressants, anti-anxiety, antipsychotics, things like that, yeah.
Yes.
They can prescribe it pretty much willy-nilly.
And then they just fill it. Whereas, let's say they're going to therapy, or let's say they're in a family environment and things are getting better. Let's say there's something that tips the scales, some traumatic event, or something that triggers a traumatic event. And then they have the medicines on standby, which is why I think it comes down to a 70% chance, 70% more likely you're bound to find a veteran that has accidentally committed suicide or has taken their own life through those prescription medications given to them by the VA. So they're essentially, in lack of better terms, putting the bullets in their gun. And it's devastating to see.
That's scary. It's scary. I have so many veteran friends. We have so many veterans that are patients. They're having so many issues, just detrimental issues due to the meds that they're on, just from the VA. They're not getting the support. Like you said, it's kind of just like a pill mill. like, hey, here's your meds, go away kind of thing. They're not getting the counseling. They're not getting the personal touch. A lot of these guys are seeking things like hormone therapy because we keep blasting it out. Hormone therapy and mental health, completely tied. I don't care what the VA wants to say about it. I don't care what the mental health community wants to say about it. And I have mental health professionals that have DM'd me, emailed me, and said what I'm doing is dangerous. And I will literally reply, what you are doing is literally killing people. I'll fight you on. I don't care. I'm not a medical professional. You can't go after my license. I'm a business person. All of my medical practitioners all believe in what we're doing, and just like what you're doing, these things there's little data. There's data that's showing these are working.
Oh, so much.
Yeah.
I mean, back when I was competing, my social impact initiative is what we called it back then. It was called Stop Soldier Suicide. And I worked hand in hand with organizations like the original Stop Soldier Suicide, Mission 22, the Irreverent Warriors Foundation. And what I noticed is there's organizations that talk about it, and then there's organizations that are about it. And Irreverent Warriors was one of those that immediately piqued my attention. They're getting veterans out of that household environment. They're getting them back out into these active communities. They're getting them into CrossFit, which is insane, the amount of results that they are getting, both physically and mentally. So CrossFit, these hikes, it's something that gets them out of their shell, essentially, and gets them back into the things that they enjoy doing. So once you ignite that spark in somebody, it gets them away from the pharmaceutical aspect of treating clinical depression.
They're crutches, they're Band-Aids, right? They're Band-Aids, they're not actually solving the problem. What's funny about what you just said, and this is completely off topic, but I just watched a video maybe yesterday or 2 days ago about Andrew Tate. You know who Andrew Tate is?
Yeah, of course.
Do you hate him or like him?
I think that in cases like Andrew Tate, there's the good and the bad.
Sure.
And that's with anybody, essentially.
So you see some of his good points,
I'd
too.
be remiss if I didn't mention that I see that there is a lot of truth in what he's saying.
Okay. So I watched him say something about mental health, and he's like, I don't believe in depression. I don't believe in suicidal tendencies. He's like, obviously PTSD is a different story, but he said, I don't believe in depression. He said, I believe that if you have a man who's depressed, if you tell them, go in the gym, improve yourself, get in better physical fitness, gain some confidence, and focus on doing that they will be less depressed or not depressed very soon. And he gives an example of a guy who was emailing him saying he's suicidal, and Andrew basically told him, he's like, go to the gym and get a six-pack. And the guy basically started bodybuilding, got a six-pack, and he's like, wow, my depressive symptoms are gone. Well, yeah, you're improving your life and you're focused on something that's a positive, attribute. And when you lift weights, when you work out, when you do physical activity and you eat right,
You're releasing dopamine.
you're releasing
You're
dopamine.
creating
and
the
you're helping
chemicals that you're taking
hormones.
orally.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
And it's something that I've even done myself. Being a head trauma survivor and going through the things that I've been through in life, I call it there's a saying I have, every setback, everything you've ever faced in life is a setup for success later on. You either grow from it or you let it destroy you. And that's a decision you're going to have to make. And that's a conversation that I've been very raw and real about with veterans and first responders. You were a leader overseas. You were in charge of $1 million equipment. You were in charge of other people. You were in charge of yourself. And then you're coming over here, and Eric said it best when he said, you're making the active decision to not get better in certain aspects. Yes, PTSD is a very real thing. Head trauma is a very real thing. Depression's a very real thing. It's something that I personally have struggled with.
Sure.
And I think I'd be remiss to say that everybody has experienced terrible thoughts. At some point in time in your life, you're going to cross that bridge, and you're going to have these thoughts about yourself, and you're going to feel sorry for yourself. I'm not different.
Nobody's immune.
Absolutely.
Nobody's immune.
It's non-discriminative. I've been a victim of that as well. But you decide to take that and use it to make yourself stronger. And that's what we sit down and we talk to them about. So we give them the tools to help build their future and make them more successful through our program. And the gym is no different, which is why personally with Andrew Tate and other people that are fitness influencers, people that go to the gym at 5 a.m. like you and your wife, it's a choice. But it's a choice that you make to get better. And in that instance, I have a lot more respect for somebody that does go to the gym and takes care of themselves, more so than somebody who makes the active decision to not be.
You're preaching kind of to them from a mental health standpoint what I preach to pretty much everybody. You know, I preach this to every single person, whether it's somebody that's dealing with business, personal life, you know, seeking success, things like that. I'm like, all these little points that you have in downfalls in your life, all these little hiccups, these bumps in the road, or all these complete failures, falling flat on your face, busting your nose and everything, they're all learning and growing experiences if you allow them to be.
Wasn't it Tom Platz that said, victory is at the other end of failure? You have to first fail to get better. And you have to drive yourself to failure to get better. When I train to failure. And that is where you see the growth. That is where you see the muscle getting built. That is where you see yourself getting built. And I see it in my life and I see it in other people's lives. It is, quite frankly, a decision that you're making. Because I've had those points. I've had those low moments. But I've also gotten myself into the gym. And that is exactly where I noticed personally a complete 180 to my mental health.
Sure.
I started feeling better. I started sleeping better. I started operating better. Even with my brain injury, I'm doing better in school. I went back to school. I'm doing better in my day-to-day life and conversations because your brain's a muscle too. If you're not training it, if you're not feeding it, it's dying.
Yeah, and all those things that you're doing, those healthy activities, you know, like exercise, training your brain, everything like that, that's all related to how your body functions. Hormone levels, dopamine, you know, for everybody thinking that you can't manipulate your own hormones. I own clinics that deal in hormone therapy. I don't want people to come to us for hormone therapy. I'd rather you fix your lifestyle to fix what's going on. So if I have a guy coming into me and he's 300 pounds, he's sedentary, he eats McDonald's every day, doesn't exercise, you know the person I'm talking about.
Sounds like the Florida dating pool.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I've had quite a few conversations about that. Florida apparently is lacking some men. Am I clear on that?
I think that it's not lacking in men as a whole. It's lacking in masculine men.
That's what I meant.
Yes.
I don't consider non-masculine men. I'm sorry. I apologize. Let me clarify that. Sorry,
No,
non-masculine men.
And, you know, that's one of the reasons why I do like Andrew Tate in that aspect. Mm-hmm. I think that if men don't have positive role models, I think that if they don't have somebody to look up to, if they don't have a man in the household, or if they don't have somebody to look up to outside of the household, a positive role model, a leader, hell, even a picture of Arnold on your wall, something to aspire yourself to.
Yeah.
They become hyper feminine.
Yeah.
And I'm not a traditionalist. I'm very much a go-getter. I am a girl boss, which is a term that I hate using, but I really like the idea of a masculine man. Sure. And it's getting increasingly hard to find them.
I've had other podcasts where I've talked about femininity, masculinity, things like that, the dating between masculine and feminine. Society obviously is pushing men to become more feminine.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's the behaviors, everything involved is making men more feminine, which is really odd because it's stemming from the feminist movement, which is really counterproductive to women because you don't want a feminine man.
No.
You don't want a weak-minded, I don't want to say gentle, but you know what I'm saying. It's
you
like,
want somebody that's empathetic
absolutely,
and sentimental, but you also want somebody that knows when it's time to put the boots on and go to work.
There you go.
And it's become something that's increasingly hard to find. I mean, the last thing I want to do is go to 9-hour work day, do my studying, continue my education, further myself to come home and take care of you on top of it. You know, it's so disencouraging.
You want a partner, not a child.
Exactly.
You're not trying to raise a child who's an adult.
Exactly. And with feminine men, it really is that. I don't want to take care of somebody else. If I can take care of myself, what do I need you for? Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that Andrew Tate has said that I absolutely agree with.
The whole idea of the masculine and feminine being different, they're supposed to be different. We're not the same. We're not good at the same things.
No.
You are very, very good at doing things in your feminine role. I'm very good at doing things in my masculine role. And they're not really supposed to cross over too much. They will a little bit, of course. You know, there's supposed to be that crossover on there. But when people start leaning too much into it, I see so many women leaning so much into their masculine because they feel they have to.
Yes.
You know?
And it's one of those things where if they're not filling the role, you fill it yourself.
Yeah.
And even the same thing with traditional feminism. I've seen it on TikTok, the trad wives.
What is it?
A trad wife, a traditional wife.
Oh, trad wife.
A trad wife, where they're like, oh, I don't even know what I get paid. I'm coming home. My husband just handles everything. I don't deal with it. He gives me an allowance. I'm like, okay, so what if something were to happen? You're absolutely lost.
Yeah.
And you need to find somebody that is not necessarily an equal, but a partner, a life partner. And in that aspect, and this is one of the things I have talked to other women about, you want somebody that's not always going to be 50-50. You're never going to have a 50-50 day.
No.
You're going to have 80-20 days. You're going to have days where you're both running on 10%. But as a partner, as a life partner, you need to find somebody that's going to fill that role. And let's say I'm having a fantastic day and I'm operating at 80%. I'm just knocking things out of the park. But my husband is having a rough day. He lost, something at work or his car fender bender or something.
Sure.
Something's always going to happen. You need to be the person to say, hey, let me take care of dinner. Let me take care of you. And I expect my husband to do the same thing one day.
It's supposed to be something where you both complement each other. What I'm having an issue with on this, what is it, fourth, fifth wave feminism part? I don't know what wave we're on now.
I don't either.
Yeah, so I'm happy you don't. It makes me happy that you don't. She doesn't either.
I just stay in my own little bubble.
Well, it's because half of it really, it's bullshit. I mean, we know it. You know what I mean? I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know who's pushing the quote unquote agenda, but it's not healthy for society.
No.
It's not healthy for men. It's not healthy for women. And it's becoming a detriment, not only the dating pool, but in the marriage pool, in the childbearing pool. I just saw a statistic for the first time ever, more than 50% of women or older than 30, 30 plus, are childless. It's a really weird statistic that you wouldn't think about, but when you look at it in that way, it's like, oh, why are these women childless? Why are they, sometimes unmarried? And they're getting into an age where, childbearing and fertility is kind of
it's a clock.
It's circling down the drain. So women are having children older and older. People aren't getting married till they're older and older, and they're saying there's a population problem. I don't know. Is there?
As an unmarried woman who doesn't have kids and has absolutely no plans for having them anytime soon.
Sure.
I would like to have my life set up first.
Sure.
And that's another take on it. Now women are graduating college a little bit later, myself included. And it's getting harder to find a life partner. Personally, I understand that you pick your child's father, the child is not. And you want to have a good role model.
Sure.
You want to have somebody that's going to be there. And that's something that's increasingly harder and harder to find.
Well, like you said, the masculinity problem. Masculine men have no problem sticking by their family, sticking by their wife, sticking by their children.
True masculine men.
True masculine men. These effeminate men, they're kind of wavery, right?
It's a commitment issue thing, I think.
Well, yeah, but it's also a way, it's a responsibility thing, where truly masculine men feel a responsibility, not just for themselves, not just for their successes and failures, but for the well-being of their family, the well-being of their spouse, the well-being of their children. I think women always have that responsibility deeply ingrained in, their children, obviously, their family. They're always going to have that commitment. It takes a truly masculine man to also have that. And if you don't have a masculine man, they're going to waver.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to look around. They're going to say, I can leave that over there and I can go find something different or new. That's not true masculinity. That's toxic.
Yes.
Feminine men are toxic. Masculine men are not toxic.
True masculine men are not toxic.
Yeah. So what's a true masculine man to you? I want to know.
True masculinity to me is somebody that is going to have empathetic moments.
Okay.
You want somebody that understands, if your kid falls down, bruises, their knees, scrapes up, and that's going to happen. Kids get hurt all the time. You want somebody that's going to be there and, comfort them, but also say, rub some dirt in it. That's what my dad used to do. You want somebody that's going to go with you to the sporting events. That's a big thing for me.
You're an athlete.
I am an athlete. I was an athlete. Still kind of an athlete, working on it. I look for that in my significant others.
Okay.
And it's not necessarily saying I want a T1 child. I want, to me, it's one, if you did sports, you have that commitment ingrained in you. You don't stop until the season's done. You don't quit midway. You see it through to the end. And you also understand that there is that commitment when it comes with sports to raising a child. Children in sports statistically do a lot better in school and in life
100%.
Than children that have no extracurricular activities. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's something I do look for. And it's becoming increasingly harder to find, not just in Florida, but across the United States. I think that, and I hate using this term, there's a war on masculinity. And they're
You and Tate have a lot in common.
Maybe. But there is a war on masculinity. You know, they're pushing these over-the-counter medications. They're discouraging you, and this is me putting my tinfoil hat on real quick. They're discouraging men and women from eating food from nature. And that's one of the reasons why I like living the lifestyle I live. And I love going out. And sun exposure is so detrimental to your mental and physical health. So, of course, too many things and, you know, not moderation. You're going to get skin cancer, you're going to have issues. But, you know, sun exposure is so detrimental to your mental and physical health, which is why we want to get veterans outside. We want to give them some sun exposure. We want to give them some, you know, interaction around people.
Yeah.
And what I'm seeing is the food pyramid is just a farce, and these over-the-counter medications that are being pushed, it's just trying to fill a hole that food can fill naturally. You know, you're getting seed oils, and you see people like in the 1970s, and you see people from Arnold's era, and they're all on the beach, and you're like, wow, everybody looks really fit. If you look at statistics, it's seed oils. Over time, seed oils. They're in everything. There's no way around it. I try to avoid it as much as possible with my, you know, what I'm trying to do physically for myself.
Sure.
It encourages estrogen production, which I'm sure you're very familiar with.
Oh, yeah.
With your line of work. And estrogen in men is a carcinogenic. So it's not a matter of if you get prostate cancer, but when, as you age, because there's so many seed oils in your food. And that's not just something you could take over the counter. You need to eat from earth, from all natural as possible.
You know, and I see society, I see all these gurus, whatever, pushing. And listen, people get pissed off when I call out vegans. Sorry, is what it is. Half of the vegan diet food out there, it is like 70% seed oils. I'm like, you can't tell me that shit's healthy. It's not. It's really, really bad for you.
It's like Soylent Green.
It's Soylent Green. Nice. You got some good one-liners. I like this.
I do have one-liners.
So you know they're pushing these products and these diet ideas. And I mean, have you seen the new food pyramid?
Oh yeah.
Did you see the chart?
It's terrifying.
Did you see the chart where it said steak was less healthy, nutritious than Lucky Charms?
Yes. And it's terrifying to me. I mean, you see what they're doing with the eggs and the chickens and everything going on social media. And I have friends that have raised chickens my entire life. I've always had farm fresh eggs whenever I want. It's just a matter of me making the time to go pick them up. The egg production, if you're eating or if you're feeding your chickens over-the-counter food versus making your own, egg production's gone down exponentially.
So there's a trick. Get goat food.
Goat food.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to tell her that.
So they're not messing with the goat food, and they probably will now if they watch any of this shit. This is going to come up on somebody's radar, and they're like, no, fuck with the goat food.
Yeah.
Bleep that F out. Sorry. The chicken feed they're manipulating, which we all know.
Absolutely.
It's, you know, again, tinfoil hat moment, but, you know, I think they are.
And this is where I have issues with the organization that I was formerly a part of with, you know, pageants.
Okay.
How do you reward somebody who has no certifications, no training, actively battling an eating disorder, which bless her for being very open about. I do commend her for that. But also encourages keto diet when your father's a cardiologist.
Yeah.
It's, to me, I can't get behind a diet where you're pushing bacon and steak and cheese and all these, you know, processed meats over eating, you know, kale, eating some carrots, eating a vegetable.
It's all about balance.
Yes.
That's what I tell everybody. I'm like, if you only eat all vegetables, you're going to be deficient.
Absolutely.
If you only eat all meat or all, you know, the keto thing, all fats and meats, you're going to be deficient in something.
Absolutely.
Just eat balanced. You know, and I put this poll up probably every 3 months on my Instagram, and I'm like, which diet do you think is the best for you? Vegan, what is the new one? Carnivore?
Yes.
Yeah, so vegan, carnivore, or balanced. 96% of everybody says balanced. Cool.
Yeah.
It's good that people understand it, but here's the problem is that they think balance is eating whatever they want in the grocery store when they don't look at labels. And if you look at labels, you are going to be appalled at how much shit is in your food.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you go look at milk or like creamer, coffee creamer,
Yes.
my favorite one. You go look at coffee creamer. What should it say?
Cream.
Cream, right? So yeah, so cream from
Cream,
dairy.
maybe some sugar.
Yeah, cream, some dairy, some
Yeah.
sugar, you know. I saw one and it was like not a soy-based one, but like an oat one. It was like an oat creamer. It was at my office. I threw it away. Somebody bought it. I had to pay them back. So it was at the office and it had like 38 ingredients.
Yeah.
And half of them, I didn't know what the hell they were.
It's usually the flavoring is how they get you on things. And I'm a big sucker for that. And with my old diet and what I was working with my old coach, and I'm sure you know from bodybuilding, they put Pam on everything.
Oh, horrible.
Everything, because it's 0 calories.
Horrible.
I was using Pam for everything. I was using it to butter the pan. I was putting it on my asparagus. I was putting it on my fish. And I'm like, fake butter.
Yeah.
And it's terrible for you.
It's poison.
Oh,
it's
it is.
legitimately
it's
poison. Yeah.
But it's 0 calories, so it's fine.
It's cancer causing, but I'm going to have abs.
Absolutely.
In the casket.
That's what I'm saying is balance.
Yeah.
My mom's side of the family's from New Zealand. Okay. And I think you mentioned that your family immigrated to the United States as well.
Yeah, from Croatia.
My grandmother, she came here from New Zealand. She was a part of the Royal New Zealand Air Force, and she was a single mom in the United States. And the cultural differences, I mean, it was definitely a learning curve for her, but, going back to it, you go to New Zealand, you go to these other countries, and it's crazy to me how I have friends that don't change anything about their diet, their activity style. They're just walking to and from the bus stop, and they're eating pizza every day in Rome, and they're dropping 10, 12 pounds over the course of a week. Meanwhile, here in the United States, because everything is so inflammatory, you're struggling to lose that weight, which is why when you eat straight farm to table, you're doing a lot better for yourself. Yeah. And in New Zealand, I encourage you to go home and pull it up. Google the color of their butter. It is yellow.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like honey.
It's dark.
It's so dark. And you look at ours and it's white. And I remember my grandmother mentioning to me, she said, I never understood why it's white. Well, because it's processed. It's over-processed. There's no nutritional value.
Oh, no. They kill it. They kill the nutritional value.
Absolutely.
They add a bunch of processed sugar and other preservatives and things like that. Yeah. I actually think I have New Zealand Manuka honey at my house.
Oh, that's fantastic for you.
It is dark.
You can put it on your skin.
Orange, brown.
It's so good for everything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Put in a little bit of tea. It's expensive, though.
It's delicious, though.
Yeah, it's delicious. It's expensive, though. And people need to realize, it's expensive to eat healthy.
Yes, it is.
If you buy it in grocery stores, go support local farmers. Go support local ranches. I buy all of our meats at North Star Bison. They're out of Wisconsin. And I buy a half a bison at a time.
That's the smart way to do it. Get a big freezer for your garage.
That's it.
Go to the local 4-H community, and there's all these little kids. They're so excited to do it. And there's fantastic scholarships with the 4-H community. And you could get half a cow and live off of it for half the year. I'm not saying go out and hunt. Of course you can. I mean, venison is fantastic for gains because it's red meat. It's very, very lean. It's almost like turkey level lean. It's fantastic. But go support local 4-H kids. Go support local farmers. Yeah. The farmers market's a fantastic place to meet people that are very like-minded.
You know the food's going to be relatively clean.
Oh, and it's delicious.
It tastes better.
It is. It really is. I mean, I even made soups at one point in time. I mean, I'm from Osceola County. Like, yeehaw, Osceola County. And, I mean, there's so many cattle farms that, you could just go around the corner to a farmer's market sometimes. Pop sitting out front with his chair and his table, and he's selling honey, and he's selling, meat, and he's got the little freezer behind him, boiled peanuts, fresh fruit. And I would buy beef bones and make soup that way with fresh bone marrow. It's fantastic for you, and that's how you get better. Nothing against Campbell's, but it's all sodium. It's all processed. You're not getting any nutritional value with that.
I'm sure you guys are doing this with the veteran community too, with the TBI and everything like that. It's not just exercise, it's diet.
Yes.
It's a huge part of getting them healthy again because, like you said, all the food in the U.S. is hyper-inflammatory, causing inflammation not just in their body, in their physical body, but in their brain. Mm-hmm. The way their blood moves, the way their blood flows. We have a huge problem now with heart disease, with diabetes. I looked up diabetic numbers. Have you looked at those recently?
Not recently.
It is scary as shit. There's people mid-30s, pre-diabetic.
Oh, wow.
It's creeping lower and lower. Just like I tell everybody with the hormone stuff, your hormone levels, men's testosterone, it is 1/3 of what their great-grandfather's was. Scary. I'm first-generation American, so maybe I didn't get that because I had a super high testosterone level when I was younger.
Look at a side-by-side. I mean, everybody loves, and I love making these jokes with my friends. We were going through, I think it was one of my high school friends' closet. She was moving, and they're finding pictures of their grandfather. I'm like, girl, your grandfather was hot back in the day.
Nice.
Chiseled jawline. The guy was fantastic. And I'm like, how come they don't look like that at our high school? He went to our high school back in 1955. And I'm like,
right.
They don't look like that now. And it definitely comes down to, again, the war on, masculinity and testosterone. The amount of men I've met, they could just sit inside all day and be content with themselves, drives me insane. Drives me insane. No sun exposure. It's like pulling teeth to get them to go outside. It's like pulling teeth to get them to eat vegetables. Even if you make it, it's just one of those things where I think it's been culturally passed down from the 80s on is when you could really see a difference in pictures. You know, you have Pop with his picture with the chiseled jawline. He was probably eating a lot of steak, eggs, potatoes, and that's a lot of jaw movement.
Oh, yeah.
So that's going to build the muscles there. It's going to fill things out. You're actually digesting and processing your food back in 1950s Osceola County. And nowadays you get some tricks. You get the yogurt. And of course,
Tricks.
yeah, a lot of these guys that I'm noticing in my mid-20s, they're eating like the food from your childhood in the 90s that mom was like, okay, not so much on
Is
the
that your
Gushers.
age group? I don't know how old you are.
1997.
Okay, jeez. I'm
No,
so
they're
old.
like eating Gushers and fruit roll-ups because that's what mom back in the day was like, not too much of that, not too much of the Sunny D. And now they have grown-up money.
Yeah.
And they can buy grown-up money things, so.
Grown-up money things.
Yeah.
Yeah. My generation, we really didn't have that much. I grew up in a generation where we still played outside. You know what I mean? Video games were just coming out, you know, and we did that for a little bit, but then we were like, all right, cool, this is boring. We're going to go play football now,
Yeah.
or go, you know, ride bikes, or go in the woods and build forts and shoot each other with BB guns. Stupid shit, you know? They're not doing that now.
No.
They're not even going outside.
No.
You know, so like you said, I didn't know where you were generationally. Now I know you're quite a bit younger than me. Your
Oh,
generation.
no, we still went outside.
Yeah, well, you did because you were... you know,
90s.
yeah, but you were in
Late
the
90s.
You were in a different community, though.
Yes.
These kids that are growing up in the city, you grew up near farms. You grew up near, you know, near some actual wilderness, I guess. You know what I mean?
Where I agree with you that there is some masculine to the feminine.
Mm-hmm.
I was the only girl in my street growing up. The only girl in my family for a long, long time. So I was surrounded by guys and I would just do guy things. Nobody wanted to play Barbies with me.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm going to go outside and play Army Man. We're throwing pine cone grenades at each other. We're shooting each other with, you know, BB guns and we're doing the stick guns. And I had a tree house in the backyard and we used it as a fort. We had a ditch in the backyard. We used it as like a trench. Like we got physical
Okay.
on the trampoline. And I mean, these kids would wrestle each other and I'd get involved and we had the pool. I grew up very much a tomboy.
But you didn't lose your femininity. You did not.
No,
You did not lose your femininity.
not at all.
I mean,
I did it in my princess dresses. I played Army Man in my princess dresses. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's just one of those things that I'm not seeing kids do that anymore. And it's sad to me because one, personally, living where I live now in Orlando, I wouldn't let my kids play outside. It's a scary world out there. You don't know who lives around the corner. It could be Joe Schmo. Versus growing up on a farm area, you know, you could just let them loose.
You know, now I don't think there's enough emphasis on being who you are, like really being who you are. I think parenting is kind of like gone by the wayside and they're letting kids kind of decide where it's like.
I think it's more fear of societal pressure.
I heard an example of a young boy that came downstairs and he was wearing a dress and heels. And he's like, I'm a girl today. Mom and dad were like, ha, 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 cool, right? Cool. Put your fucking clothes on and you got to go to school. You're not wearing a dress to school. You're a boy. You know what I mean? Oh, okay, cool. Bye, Dad. And gets dressed and goes to school. Now, parents are like, oh, he just said he's a girl. He must be a girl. We're going to have to accept that he's a girl. No, he's 7. He's just playing.
When I was little, I wanted to be a tiger when I grew up. Am I a tiger?
Listen, there's grade schools where they are allowing people to identify as cats and they meow to each other. I swear to God, I saw a video of it. I watch way too much YouTube. So
I'm sorry.
they're meowing at each other and they said, you have to. The teacher, they yelled at the teacher because the teacher would not identify them as a cat. They're like, you have to identify them because they are identifying as a cat, and God forbid you don't declare that they are a cat.
There's got to be a line. And, you know, this is one of those things that, you know, I know there could be some negative feedback on, but I was bullied. I was severely bullied.
So was I.
And to the point where it got into a physical aspect where I was pushed down a flight of stairs. I was kicked in the ribs. Like, I was physically bullied and picked on relentlessly. I'm perfectly fine. Here's the thing. I was really into books and I was a horse girl. I'm a grown-up horse girl now. I work with horses. But I was picked on for it. And you know what? I became normal. I stopped doing the weird stuff. And I think that society now is just so fearful of getting lashed out on when I think that it's healthy to be bullied a little bit. I mean, I bully myself every time I'm in the gym. I'm like, if you don't finish this rep, you're a loser, and you're not allowed to leave here a loser. You don't finish this, and you're done. You're a loser. For the rest of the day, you're a loser until you come back in here and you prove yourself, which is why I train to failure. And, you know, I'm not lifting heavy weights.
Sure.
But, you know, lightweight, heavy reps. And I go until I'm shaking when I leave.
Yeah, you're training to exert. You're training to exertion.
I bully myself through my workouts. I bully myself daily. And you know what? I become better for it. So there's got to be an idea of, as a parent, as a role model, where you say, hey, this isn't normal behavior, and maybe you should talk to somebody and we'll figure out what's going on. Or maybe it's coming from overexposure to the internet, which is becoming increasingly an issue with child grooming, with these mental health issues. Women are comparing themselves to edited images on the internet versus going out and seeing, you know, a normal person every day. And I think it really just comes down to overexposure to the internet without any parental supervision. These iPad kids are the ones that are acting weird. They're the ones that have no, you know, physical awareness. They have no spatial awareness. They're more prone to fall over and hurt themselves because they don't go outside. They don't build the muscle. They don't, you know, integrate themselves and become a productive member of society.
Well, what is it doing to their brain chemistry? You know, what is it doing to their dopamine responses when they are constantly being stimulated by a small screen or, you know, iPad or the TV? It's constant screen manipulation.
When you don't have it, you're going to be bored and you're going to be depressed.
And you're not going to feel the vigor of real life because it's not as stimulating. I say the same thing, and I've had this conversation with so many people. I am anti-pornography. I'm saying all pornography should be banned. Men should not look at pornography. I'm anti...
OnlyFans?
Oh, totally. Totally anti-OnlyFans.
Me too.
Yeah. If you're a woman and you want to find a good, solid man, get off OnlyFans. If you have an OnlyFans and you're looking for a high-value man, they are going to pass by. They may sleep with you. They're not going to date you. They're not going to marry you.
No.
No, absolutely not. If I'm dating a girl and I'm ready to marry them, and I find out they have an OnlyFans or had an OnlyFans, relationship's off. That's just me. I am so anti that. It's the same thing as doing pornography to me. Now, when I talk about pornography being anti-pornography, it is causing men to not be able to connect with women in real life. Where, look how you're dressed, right? You're not dressed scantily clad. You're not showing anything, you know, crazy. These men get so desensitized to women because they're so used to seeing whatever they want, whenever they want. So used to seeing women butt naked, bent over, blah, blah, blah. Even on OnlyFans too.
Yep.
And I mean, on Instagram too, let's be honest.
Oh, trust me, I've seen some things on Instagram, and there's nothing more disheartening than talking to a guy and being so into a guy and really just connecting with him and really liking him, and to the point where, man, I could really see a future with him.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're scrolling on the Instagram For You page or whatever they call it, where it's like recommended pictures. And for me, it's all bodybuilding stuff. And, you know, you see a lot of, for me, it's bodybuilding inspiration with girls. And then you scroll and you see, oh, that is practical nudity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as you're scrolling, you see that person and the likes, or even worse, in the comments. And you're like, so that's what you're about.
Yeah.
Immediately I'm done.
Sure. But that's what gets that type of man that has had their brain chemistry messed up. That's what gets them excited. Where if they see a beautiful woman like you in the streets, they are not going to recognize. I swear to God, it's a proven fact. Jordan Peterson. Do you know who he is?
No.
Jordan Peterson, Canadian psychologist. Look up his videos.
I'm going to have to.
You will love his stuff. So he is very blunt, very to the point, talks about masculine, feminine, talks about how people are being poisoned.
Yes.
By the internet, by pornography, by all these things. And he's talking about how it's interrupting the way that their body responds to things that they should respond to, where if I'm a man and I see a beautiful woman out in the street, dopamine response.
Yeah.
Go talk to that beautiful woman. These new generations that are so hyperstimulated with so many images and pornography and all these things.
There's no communication skills.
Well, not only that, but they don't even get triggered. They don't even get the dopamine response where they see a beautiful woman because you're not naked. It's that crazy. It's causing their brain to literally not understand that they are seeing somebody they should be attracted to, but their brain doesn't respond to it, so they just ignore. walk by.
Yep.
Why do you think you have a problem finding good men? They probably don't even know you're there.
That's one of the things that I have a hard time explaining. So, of course, I've been on some dates.
Sure.
And I'm sitting down and I'm sitting across from a guy and he's like, all right, you've got a lot going for you. Why are you still single at 25? And one of the things I like to say is, you know, I pride myself on what I look for in a partner. I date to marry. I refuse to waste my time or your time. If you're not about it, you're not about it. And that's fine. That's your choice. I don't care. It's fine.
Sure.
Go about your life. But being 25, and my mom was married by I think a year at 24 to 25. That was like their first year of marriage. My parents were still together. So to me, I'm like, I'm feeling the societal pressure. Like, I want to get married and I want to have kids and I want to put my kids in sports and I want to have a husband that I could push and encourage with whatever they decide to do in life. And that inspires me to be a better person. One, it's hard to find. Two, here in Florida, yeah, I've got guys coming up and talking to me. I get flirted with decent amount of times, but do they want to get to know me, or do they just see me as what I am? You know, and that's one of the things that I have to ask myself. You know, I've met a lot of people, but I'm not going to go on a date with you. I'm not going to find anything productive about any conversation I have with you, and I'm not going to waste my time. Yeah. So one of the things that I tell them, I go to school, I go to the gym, and I go to work. And sometimes I go out with my friends. But if I'm meeting you at that place, I really have nothing to do with you. Yeah. Men of value don't meet girls at bars. They don't.
That's going to be I want to just have that as a clip right there. That is so important because it's true.
They have an idea of what they want to take home from the bar. And quite frankly, that's not what I'm looking for. It's not going to be me. And my dad has this fantastic saying, and I think he wants me to have somebody more than I do sometimes.
Sure.
But my dad, he says, go out and do the things that you enjoy doing. And you're going to find like-minded individuals, and that's where you're going to find your match. So I think for the past 2 relationships I've had, I've met them in the gym.
Yeah.
I met them in the gym or something around the gym, surrounding the fitness lifestyle. So I know they're going to understand that I have goals and there's things that I'm working on, and I want them to have goals too. I don't like guys without goals.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so setting those standards as a woman and just as a person, you know, people really lack that right now. People really lack setting standards in relationships. When I was dating before I met my wife, I would put everybody through an interview. This was like, it was horrible. Listen, I was brutal.
Hear me out.
Go ahead.
I think one of the worst relationships I've ever been in. There were so many red flags, but I was in my I can fix him era of my life, which is awful.
Didn't work out, I guess.
Women, if you're going through the I can fix him, no, you can't. You're not a licensed therapist, and if you are, you're not doing that for free.
Yep, get paid for it.
So I went through that stage, and I asked him, you know, this is going to sound terrible.
No, come on, bring it on. Let's go.
I asked him, I'm like, so what was the initial, like, I don't know about her thing for you? Because there's always something where you don't meet somebody. It's not like kismet. You're not like, oh my gosh, this is my soulmate.
Yeah.
There's going to be some reservations. And he said, well, it felt more like a job interview than anything. And I'm like, well, I mean, it's not like I'm interviewing you for the job of my husband, you know, possibly one day. I kind of want to know a little bit about you. And he's like, well, you asked me just so many questions. And I'm like, well, that's kind of what a first date's for, buddy. You know, what do you expect? And mind you, this guy had 2 ex-wives, working on his 3rd, kid. And, you know, that's fine. Like, if you have a kid, that's fine. But one of the ex-wives has 3 kids from 3 baby daddies. Like, maybe at some point in time as an adult, as somebody in their 30s, you should stop and ask yourself, maybe I should ask people interview questions before getting to know them like that. Mm-hmm. Maybe before I put the ring on her finger, ask her some interview questions, get to know them. And maybe you won't have those issues.
Yeah, so I had this very toxic relationship. And after that, I was like, okay, I'm going to cut some time out of this process. So every single first date that I went on with these girls, I interviewed them. And when I say interviewed them, I'm talking, what's your relationship with your father? Tell me about all your ex-boyfriends. What's your credit score? What's your dreams?
Not the credit score.
Oh, everything. I went down. Jeez. I went down the line. It got to a point where someone would get kind of offended.
Yeah, it's to be expected.
Yeah, so someone would get offended, and I was to the point where I'm like, I am looking for a partner. I don't have time to learn you over 3 to 4 months. I don't want to waste my time or yours.
Yeah.
It was a respect thing for me. Someone would answer wrong, and I mean, I was a little ruthless at this point.
Oh, geez.
They would answer wrong, and I would walk out of dates. Some women would get pissed off and they start arguing, and I'd call the waiter over. I'd be like, separate checks. I'm leaving. I'd make them drive
Jeez.
too. Oh yeah, I was brutal. It was mean. But I would do this, and I really quickly figured out what I was looking for because I started seeing all the things I didn't want. And then I had a list, and went on a first date with my wife, gave her the interview. She gave me one right back. I'm like, oh shit.
Good for her.
I'm like, oh shit, here we go. All right.
Snaps.
So
love that.
she gets it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she was in the same place. She was looking for a partner. She all but gave up. Kind of, I did too. You know what I mean? We're just kind of like, all right, screw it, whatever. We're not, just deal with it. Obviously with women, a little bit different than men. I can have kids until I'm 80 years old.
Yeah.
Women have a clock. You know what I mean? And it's really strange. Have you heard of, this is going to sound bad for women and men, value, like relationship value for men and women?
No.
Where it's like, so they talk about how men value women and how women value men, and kind of what we look for in each other that we find value in on how we date.
I haven't heard that. Educate me.
Okay, so this sounds a little bit bad. So
Go for it.
Men are looking at women. I'm sure you've heard this. So men care about women's past.
Yes.
Women care about men's future.
Oh.
So it's really simple when you think about it. When you look at a man, you really probably don't think too much about his past unless he has
I don't want to.
5 ex-wives. Well, unless he has 5 ex-wives and 6 kids, whatever. That's a past issue that might be a thing. But really, it's not on your radar. You're more looking at future.
Yes.
Where men, they look at it in a little bit of a different way, where we kind of are, I don't want to say obsessive, but we're like, we look at a woman's past, we're like, because we look at it as a competition. Very animalistic, you know. I mean, men are.
You want to see what you're competing against, like what their exes looked like.
Yeah.
So, I've actually had a guy that I went on a date with, and we dated for a little bit, but he wanted to know, like, oh, who were you talking to before me? Like, and one of my exes is a pro strongman, and he pulls up a picture and ghosted.
No shit.
I'm like,
just done?
Well, it was like a slow taper in the conversation, like, yeah, I see where this is going. It's not clicking. And I'm like, if you're that insecure, then it's not going to work out.
You probably dodged a bullet, though, because he immediately saw the value in what that other man was, and he did realize that he couldn't step up to that value.
Oh, he was a fantastic guy. We're still friends. Fantastic guy. Love his family. Love everything about what he's doing. It's just, right person, wrong time type of situation.
Gotcha.
Maybe. Who knows?
Did he fit your mold? Did he fit what you were looking for?
Yeah.
Okay. But he didn't think he did. But he didn't think he did.
It's one of those. It's complicated things.
Okay.
We'll see what happens.
Let's say I'm a normal guy with a normal job. I make $100K a year.
Yeah.
Okay. Good salary. Make $100K a year. But I approach you, and everybody you've dated for the last 5 years have all been multimillionaire entrepreneurs. That's going to be hard for somebody like me making $100K a year, normal job, looking at that. Because we look at it as, can we provide the value to you as a woman that you're used to? I never thought about that. It's not just a self-conscious thing.
Because I've had a guy turn around the phone and be like, do you want to see mine? I'm like, no, I'm never going to tear down another woman. I don't care what she did to you. I don't care what happened.
Yeah.
And maybe that's me looking at the future.
Yeah.
Maybe that is one of those things that you just mentioned. Like, it clicks. It works.
Yeah. Well, it's just the way that we look at our partners. Men and women, again, very, very different. We're
different species.
Yeah, we're different species.
Same planet,
really.
different species.
Yeah, what is it? Mars and Venus, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so there's a reason that term exists, and the way that we look at the dating pool is completely backwards from each other. So when things start getting flipped, and we talk about women becoming more masculine, men becoming more feminine, no wonder we have a dating problem in this country. No wonder we have a marriage problem in this country. People aren't even living to the potential of their true selves. Do you have a standard of income on men that you look for?
Hear me out. And I've gotten a lot of hate for this before, with my friend group at least.
Okay.
It doesn't come down to money for me, because money comes and money goes.
Sure.
And it doesn't come down to looks for me, which is why I had an issue with that guy tearing down, the people that I'd been with in the past, just physically berating them.
Okay.
And to me, it was never about the looks.
Okay.
I want a guy that can make me laugh. And the face you just made.
No, what? Listen, you know what just came to my mind? Who's the guy that dated Kim Kardashian?
Pete Davidson.
Thank you. Listen, Pete Davidson
He's scary looking.
The dude is ugly as hell. I'm just going to say it. Sorry, Pete Davidson. You are fucking ugly. But you are hilarious, and you must have a hammer because women are all over you. You have dated some of the hottest chicks on the planet.
He has.
He has, because he's funny.
Yeah.
He makes women laugh. You know what I mean? So it's not all about success. I agree.
I do have an age limit, though. I don't date younger guys. That's an absolutely no for me.
That's because you're 26?
No, not even. Not even that. I've always dated older guys because they have their shit together. They have their life together. They know what they want in life.
That's what I mean.
Guys my age, absolutely not.
But if you were 35?
If I was 35, maybe a different story.
That's what I'm saying.
But to me, I've always dated older.
Yeah.
And I will never date somebody my age because guys my age, they like to play games.
Sure.
And I don't go for looks necessarily. Looks do have some aspect of it, of course. You have to have the initial physical attraction to somebody. But you need a guy that can make you laugh. And that's what I keep telling my friends. Don't go for money because money's going to come and go. One bad investment and then you guys are just trying to make things work. And if you don't have somebody that can laugh at themselves, laugh with you, and laugh through it, you're not going to have anything. Because there's going to be one day where you're going to look old and messed up. And your body's not going to look the way it does right now. You want somebody that will make you laugh. And on the other side of things where it's not so nice to say, a funny guy, if he's making you laugh, your eyes are shut half the time, so.
Nice. That was slightly mean. I like it.
Slightly mean. The backhanded compliment. I love funny guys, though. Love funny guys.
That's good. There's going to be a lot of guys that are going to find your Instagram and start sending you jokes and stuff
Not
like
the
that.
Jokes. But comedians, hey.
Yeah, comedians.
No.
Hey, guys, any comedians out there?
Yeah.
Where is your next step career-wise? We've done the relationship part. You're looking. It's slim pickings out there, and it's not just Florida; it's everywhere.
When the time's right, God's going to send me somebody, and who knows? There could be something around the corner. We don't know yet.
Amen. Yeah.
But to me, I'm not just looking for a life partner. I'm looking for a business partner.
Ooh.
I feel like to get ahead in life, especially with the economy the way it is, you have to have multiple streams of income at all times. If you're not making money when you're sleeping, you're losing money. So I want to open my own gym, and that's always been something that I've aspired to do.
Very cool.
That's one of the reasons why I look up to my coach in so many different aspects, in bodybuilding, and her relationship with her husband, and her relationship with herself, and her relationship with her family, physically, and she runs her own gym. That's the dream I've had for a long time.
Very cool.
And right now I'm just working on getting the dream together. And at some point in time, I'm going to have a kid in that gym. I'm going to have a kid lifting the little foam Rogue weights.
Yep.
I love those. I think this is the cutest thing in the world. I'm going to have somebody who's going to be a business partner at some point in time. So I need to have a guy that is going to make financially sound decisions. So I don't care if he has money or not.
Sure.
But you got to be smart with it.
Well, you got to have the potential,
Yes.
though. You know what I mean? I think people need to look at where the real qualifications really lie in. I think you hit a nail on the head when you talk about having somebody make you laugh.
Yeah.
Right?
To get through things.
Because you're going to go through things.
Oh, absolutely.
So I know.
Life is not linear.
I know plenty of people that, have a shitload of money, miserable. I know a lot of people that don't have a lot of money and they skimp by month,
But they're happy.
super happy. So are there both? Do you want to have both? Absolutely. You want to be financially free. You want to have, be able to
Provide
not
a
worry.
good future for your kids.
Yeah. Well, and that's another thing, People are getting selfish though when it comes to kids. Have you noticed?
I've noticed.
I've seen a lot of women, and it's weird hearing it from women. Men kind of makes sense because men are selfish. We kind of suck in general as it, you know what I mean? It just is what it is.
I mean, I'll openly admit I'm a selfish person too.
Sure. We all have
You have to be to get ahead.
We have a measure of selfishness, but I have so many women that are like in their late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s, and they're like, I don't ever want to have kids because then they're going to take my money. I can't go on vacation. I'm like, it's a really weird thing to say. Like, you're so selfish that you think of kids as only a burden and only a financial burden, and you have nothing positive to say about it.
There's so many rewards with it, though. And I mean, again, this is from an unmarried woman who has no plans on having kids anytime soon. And who knows if it ever happens. If it doesn't happen, it's up to God. I don't care.
Sure.
But I enjoy playing cool aunt. It is the best job in the world being cool aunt. I take the kids to Disney, SeaWorld, Universal, as perks of living in Florida, to the beach, spoil them rotten, sugar them up, send them home. It is so rewarding, to be able to experience something through a child's eyes. I think there's something to be said for that. Because I could walk down Main Street USA at Disney any day of the week.
Yeah.
That's just, I could do that. But to take a kid and to watch their just face light up when they see Mickey Mouse. And it's so precious. And those moments are very fleeting. You got to enjoy them while you can.
Yeah, I think the way that the dynamic is working in this country, just in Western culture altogether, it's in Europe too. It's not just here.
German women are very selfish. I've met, I have a lot of German friends,
Okay.
and that's just, their culture.
Have you traveled there recently? Have you traveled to Europe at all?
Not recently.
Okay. It's very, very westernized now, meaning Americanized. When I say westernized, I really do mean Americanized. The way the dynamic is over there, it mimics the U.S., which is not a good thing.
No.
It's mostly women, very, very young, or very, very young men. People, even in your generation, I'm talking about like teenagers getting into like 20 years old right now. But even your generation, getting into their mid 20s, they're looking outside. You see all these men, I call them, you ever hear the term passport boys?
No.
There's men now, they call them passport boys, that they can't find any women here. And there's women too that are doing this. So they take their passport and they go over to a foreign country. And they find their spouse in a foreign country because they're looking for a masculine man as a woman, or as a man, they're looking for a feminine woman who can be a normal woman. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to say normal, like, I don't know, it's kind of like taboo, right? But to be a feminine woman who understands how to be feminine,
There's
who understands how to
cultural
be...
things. My dad's side of the family is Native American and Italian, and my mom's side of the family is New Zealand and Native American. So we're a good Heinz 57 American family.
Yeah, sure.
But there's also the aspect of, old country Italian. There's also the aspect of, coming from straight out of New Zealand, where there is hyper masculinity and hyper femininity. And that's how my grandmother was raised. And that's how she lives her life today.
There's roles. There's
Yes.
roles in certain cultures. And I know they get intermingled a little bit. What's your thought on household roles? I just want to know. I'm just curious.
It's another one of those, there's never going to be any 50-50. There's going to be 80-20 days. Let's say I open the gym by the time I'm 30, which hopefully I will. And I'm married by the time I'm 30, which hopefully I am.
Go.
Let's say I'm working at the gym all day and my husband's got his side hustle. He's managing. He's doing his thing. And he's home before I am. And I come home and I'm miserable. I'm tired. I'm not going to be mad if there's not dinner on the table. We'll figure it out. But if you're home first, step up to the plate. And that's one of those things where if you love somebody, and this isn't a traditional role type of situation, but for example, my past toxic relationship, at some point in time, I did care about that guy. And we would go to the gym at 5 a.m. He'd go shower. I wouldn't shower. He would go get ready. And because I worked from home. So I would work from home. I would do my marketing thing. And I would make his lunch, measure out his rice, his chicken, his meal prep, make sure it's all packaged up, stick it in his lunchbox, make sure it's cool. I was trying to save money at the time because we were living together. So I was like, no more Starbucks. You're cut off from Starbucks. You're done. You're done.
It's expensive.
Yeah, it adds up. You're $8 drink. So I'm like, all right, we got a Keurig. I'll get some sugar-free syrups. We'll make it at home. I would get his coffee together, his breakfast together, make sure it was hot. Go outside if it was cold out because we lived in North Carolina. Start the car. Turn on the heated seats.
Good wife stuff going on right there.
On a girlfriend budget. And I would put the stuff in the car and make sure he was all ready to go for work. So all he had to do was go outside and it was there.
Damn.
If I was out of, the state for a business trip.
This is a toxic guy?
Yeah. If I was out of the state for a business trip, I would leave little notes around the houses and a Hershey kiss, something for him to open the drawer and, oh, that's sweet. It's one of those things. If you care about somebody, you'll step up to the plate.
I'm guessing that wasn't reciprocated.
No. God, no. God, no. It's one of those things. And that wasn't me being, traditional feminist. And that wasn't me being a trad wife. That was me. I love you. I'm going to take care of you.
Yeah. Yeah. And the way that you're going to take care of a man is different than how a man is going to take care of a woman.
Yeah.
I had an argument one time with one of my exes.
Oh, God.
And this woman was basically mad because I didn't express love and affection and things like that like she did. And I'm like...
Well, you can't expect that.
Well, that's my point. And I'm like, do you really understand how my brain works? I'm like, and I brought it back to a different situation with that same woman. We were out at a bar. We were all drinking, having fun. Some guy comes up and starts talking shit to me for whatever reason. This is back when I was a cop. So starts talking shit. We're at a bar, and I'm like, dude, go away. I'm like, I don't need anything. Just please, I don't want to fight. We're good.
Yeah.
Keeps pestering, keeps going, knocks drinks over, and I'm like, dude, and then now I'm like, all right, dude, I'm a cop. I'm off duty. You're in my city.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have you arrested. Just go away.
Absolutely.
Walks away, comes back again. Then he starts talking to my girl. And he's like, oh, come here, baby. You want a real man, this and that. My instincts, I don't even remember how fast I got up, but I put this guy against a wall by his neck. And he ended up mouthing off, and a couple cops came over because the bar people called the cops, and they were my people that I worked with. He ended up getting arrested for being being an asshole. But that, I tried to explain, I'm like, do you understand how much love that is? You know what I mean? Do you understand how much love that is for a man to show up and protect you when even somebody just said something to you? I won't even let somebody say something that is hurtful or anything to you because that's how much I love you. You know what I mean?
That is what girls should be looking for in a potential husband. And that's not me encouraging violence. I work out in the gym. Sometimes it's attractive, I'm not going to lie, but it's one of those things where I've experienced it. And it is hands down one of the most attractive things I've ever noticed about a guy.
Sure.
I had an ex that we were at the gym together. This guy's taking pictures of me. I'm oblivious to my surroundings, constantly oblivious to my surroundings. And he notices. And he goes up to the guy, grabs him by his shirt, and he says, you're going to delete that. And he's trying to play dumb. And he's like, you're deleting that. You have no right to do that. And to me, that was so incredibly attractive because he stood up for me.
That was a nice way to do it. I would have broke his phone in half.
He stood up for me, and I didn't even notice what was going on.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be.
But that's because he's looking for potential danger. That's what he's looking for.
That's what a masculine man does.
And you should be able to relax as a woman with your partner, with your man, because you know he can protect you.
And with the strong man, the other ex, his head was constantly on a swivel. He bounced on the side. To me, that's so attractive to have somebody that's looking out for your back and theirs at the same time.
You know what's funny is all this stuff we talked about, relationship, masculine, feminine, I think it ties so much into what we talked about in the beginning with how people's brain chemistry works, with how these veterans, first responders, people with TBIs, things like that. So all these things that are missing in society commonly also are missing in those people's lives post military service or post, all these issues. It's all kind of...
I don't date within the veteran population at all. Because to me, I don't mix business and what I do with that.
That's what you do. That's literally your...
I would never, I've tried it. That was the toxic relationship. And to me, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to focus on me. That is completely separate from my life.
Gotcha.
But I've noticed the hypermasculine men are the ones that take those sheepdog positions. They are first responders, they are military, they are firefighters, and of course you're going to have some that are masquerading as that, where it's the savior complex. You have, increased rates of, toxic masculinity in those situations, but there's also the ones that are true, and they do it for the right reasons. One
last thing I want to touch on, because I saw it and because it's on your social media, you're on a reality show.
Yes.
What is that reality show?
It is Farmer Wants a Wife on Fox.
Okay.
It premieres March 8th at 8 p.m. And that's why I said, who knows what the future holds when it comes to relationships and love.
Oh, so there might be a husband in this
future.
Could be. There could be a farmer husband in this future.
Farm to table lifestyle right there.
I like it. That's good.
Yep.
All right. So men might be heartbroken. You might not. We don't know yet. We're going to find out.
Have to watch and see.
Yeah. March 8th is a good day. It's Mother's birthday. So yeah, it's a good day. It's her 60th birthday.
Wow.
Yeah. She looks like she's 40. 35 maybe if you ask her.
That's fine.
Yeah. I don't know how that works because
my dad's turned 40 a few times now.
I think my mom's been in her 30s for about 20-something years, so I'm trying to figure out how that works.
I mean, I tell everybody I'm 24. You take a year off for COVID. It doesn't count. I didn't go outside.
COVID doesn't count.
I didn't have any fun with that year.
Can I
get it back.
Am I allowed to do that?
It's like daylight savings time. You just turn it back a year.
Are men allowed to do that?
Why not?
I'm going to try it.
Try it.
I'm closer to 35 now, guys.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, thank you for coming on. Thank you for doing what you're doing in the veteran community. I know there's going to be some synergy because I'm starting my nonprofit this year, dealing with veterans, dealing with the hormone issues and the VA. So I know there's going to be some synergy with the groups that you work with.
Well, I'd love to have you come out to McCormick Research. We've got some ruck marches and 5Ks that I'm organizing coming up, and we'd love to have you guys out.
I haven't thrown up in a long time. We can totally do a ruck march.
Absolutely.
All right.
Gotta love a good ruck.
Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate you paying attention. I appreciate you talking in the comments. I appreciate you guys messaging me. I appreciate you guys sharing this. If you guys want to watch more of this content, take a click right here. You can get more videos. Have a good day.